From the land of conjures, flying through the internet to your device like a UAP, hauntingly unexplained and downright weird, this is the Witching Hours, and we are ready to take off in the flash of an eye. Good evening to one and all, wherever and whenever you are listening to this program. I am Giant of the Frost, and joining me, as always, is the medium Jenny Lee. Hey, Jenny, you want to get weird?
Now that I am awake from my nap, which I passed out, yes.
Ready to get weird. All right, off we go. We're back after a week off. I hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving if you were participating in such things like us Americans were.
Yep.
I guess this time last week we were pretty full up with turkey and rolls and pumpkin
Absolutely.
pie and mashed potatoes and all that stuff that we eat.
Mhm.
Maybe watching a little bit of football. So I hope everyone enjoyed their holiday last week if you partook, and oh, we are back this week, and we got a great show for you tonight. We're looking forward to it. We're going to talk about some Christmas stuff tonight. We're in that season. We've graduated from one into the other, and we're headed into the holiday season. To catch everybody up, since we were off for a week, we have some shows coming up. Next week, we're going to be back with Jason Cosmos, and he's going to talk about his tarot reader. We're going to talk about his Octopus of Dreams and the tarot format that he uses that came to him in a dream.
He's very excited to be on because he's
He
been
is
sharing it
excited.
all over Instagram.
Oh, wonderful! I'm
Yes.
not on Instagram, so I didn't even know that because
Yeah.
I don't do the Instagram thing. Um, we have our Christmas show on the 19th, so we're going to do some giveaways and probably just kind of like a hangout and kind of enjoy some Christmas stuff with everybody on the 19th. There's going to be no show on the 26th, the day after Christmas, because, well, everyone will. Well, I know that I'll probably be hungover from the holiday cheer from the day before, but we'll be back on the first on the first show of the new year. On the second is going to be our New Year's prediction show.
I'm
So
so
we're going to be
excited about
coming,
it.
yeah, live with you with a bunch of friends. I don't know if we should give away all the people we have coming on yet,
No,
but we
let's
have a
keep it
bunch of
secret.
our friends coming on to talk
You
about
won't know.
predictions.
You won't
We're
know
going
till
to
it
go over, yeah, we're going to talk about last year's predictions for the year 2024, and then we will talk about new predictions for the year 2025. And I do want to say, so that way people know, we are going to open that up at some point for like open lines. Because
Yes.
we're using a different program now. We use
Mhm.
StreamYard instead of like Discord and all the weirdness we used to do. So if you would like to come on and give your predictions for 2025, and you need to have time to get those ready, we will send you links through Discord. If you message us and let us know that night that you want to come on, we'll send you a link in Discord, and you can come on and give us your 2025
Yeah.
predictions.
CMC has joined us on the Witching Hours before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that'll be fun.
Mhm.
We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun time. So that's the next slate of shows that we have coming up for you. I do want to mention that if you're listening to us in another time in another place on the podcast, we would always appreciate it if you give us a review or a like or whatever you got to do over there. If you're listening to us on YouTube, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Feel free to give us a comment, talk about the show, anything to help more people find and come talk to us on this program. We have the Witching Hours, and we appreciate everyone who's in here hanging out tonight. I
Yeah.
see a lot of I see a lot of I see a lot of the faces that I'm used to seeing, and we see a whole lot of people here tonight. Welcome in Norris, welcome in Keisha, the Purple Throne, Priestess, who we're going to be talking to in just a minute. All kinds of people hanging out this tonight. So welcome in all the people on Twitch and all the people on YouTube. All right. Well, are we ready to get down with the news, Jenny?
I guess so. You got anything good this week that's not depressing?
Well, if anyone wants to complain about the news, I have a couple stories, but a bunch of the news stories tonight are brought to you by the one and only CMC Air Boss,
Oh, okay, good.
who
He
was
has some good
put some
stuff.
who put some news in the weird news section of our Discord. So if you want to submit news stories, you can jump in, join our Discord. There's a weird news section in there, and you can throw news stories in there for everyone to check out. Um, can goats predict earthquakes? And can dogs forecast volcanic eruptions? These scientists think so. So in this article, scientists are enlisting some unusual recruits in their efforts to forecast earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and other natural phenomena.
I mean,
They are enrolling.
hasn't that been something that we've known for a long time, that animals can sense these things before we do?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if they've done broad studies on it to actually find out how to. I mean, well, let me get to this story here.
Yeah.
They're enrolling thousands of dogs, goats, and other farmyard animals, as well as a wide range of wildlife in studies that will monitor their movements from space. The program uses tiny transmitters that are being fitted to mammals, birds, and insects. The detailed movements of these creatures will then be monitored from a dedicated satellite to be launched next year. The aim is not just to study how they react to imminent natural events like volcanic eruptions, but to gain new insights into migration, the spread of diseases among animals, and the impact of the climate crisis, say
Mhm.
researchers. Ultimately, we hope to launch a fleet of around 6 satellites and establish a global observation network that will not only provide details of wildlife movements and animal health across the planet, but reveal how creatures respond to natural phenomena like earthquakes, said the project leader. So, the value of studying tagged animals in this area has already been demonstrated in early experiments in Sicily on the slopes of Mount Etna. They have found the behavior of goats is pretty good at predicting large volcanic eruptions. So I guess they'll be able to track all this information through the satellites and start gathering that data. And then when they start seeing animal movements through the satellites, then they can use that to predict volcanic eruptions,
Yeah.
earthquakes. So that could be like a early warning thing. I think that could be
Mhm.
really beneficial.
Yeah. It's interesting that the first story was about goats, because I just finished reading the book Heidi for the first time, which has a lot of goats.
Mm. So there we go.
Off topic, but anyway.
Maybe a way to be able to well, there was another one here. It said in 1975 there was an earthquake in China, and the earthquake happened after a bunch of people saw like snakes and rats like leaving their burrows.
Yeah.
So once we see
That's
those
been
movements,
happening.
they could have that linked to some kind of system that gave out
Yes.
early warning information. So maybe we got that. Story number 2: a galaxy crashes at 2 million miles per hour, creating one of the most powerful shock waves ever seen.
Oh my
A
goodness.
galaxy speeding at 2 million miles per hour has smashed into its neighbors in Stephen's quintet,
Bad
creating
neighbors.
powerful shock waves ever observed.
You don't want those kind of neighbors.
The
Stay on
event
your
has
lawn.
the event has illuminated the surrounding plasma, offering astronomers a unique chance to study galaxy collisions, star formation, and the dynamic forces shaping the cosmos. Astronomers have observed a cosmic collision of extraordinary magnitude as the galaxy NGC 7318b plowed into its neighbors at an astonishing speed of 2 million miles per hour, triggering a shock wave akin
Mhm.
to a sonic boom from a jet fighter. This rare and violent event occurred within Stephen's quintet, a group of 5 galaxies locked in an intricate gravitational dance located 290 million light years from
Yikes.
Earth.
I know that, everybody, the scientific community, doesn't think there's other life in the universe, but I hope there
You
wasn't.
think that?
Yeah, they do.
You
Yeah,
think that the scientific community doesn't think that life exists?
in other places in the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's true.
We just had we're gonna get way off topic. But anyway,
Well, that's what
what
we
I was gonna
so
say was
so,
is that I
I
hope
know that
that there was no living things in those galaxies, because then they got smashed up.
I think a lot of the leading scientists said that I've read books and stuff from, like, Stephen Hawking and Neil deGrasse Tyson, for instance.
Mhm.
I their issue is they don't think aliens have come here.
I'm just
But I
saying,
think they're firm believers
scientific-minded
that
people
life
don't
probably
believe
exists at other
anything
points in the
unless they can
galaxies.
prove it with
Yeah.
scientific theory, which
Yeah,
is
for
the
sure.
same reason we just had a story about goats predicting earthquakes, when no shit, we already knew that.
Yeah, but you don't have but right now so here's the thing about that, though. If you know that,
Mhm.
what good does it
They're
do
gonna
you?
track it. They're gonna track it,
You
and
gotta
that's
track it,
different.
and then
Yes.
you can use the information.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like, if we know that, that's great, but how do
Mhm.
you put that
Yeah.
information to use? So this is a way to put that information to use, I think.
True.
To
Correct.
finish up that one, by studying this phenomena, scientists aim to uncover how similar interactions have shaped the universe since its infancy.
I was just saying, I hope nothing was living in those galaxies because that's a lot of
Yeah.
smush
Well, we're gonna collide into Andromeda,
at some
so
point.
it's gonna happen eventually. Yeah, Andromeda galaxy is getting closer and closer. How does science explain deja vu? Is this news article? Deja vu is the eerie feeling that you have had the same novel experience before. It's a spontaneous, elusive sensation that reveals the workings of consciousness, allowing us to see the separation between what we feel and what we know to be true, explains psychologist Akira O'Connor. So this is interesting. They go through here and they start talking about the experience occurs when certain brain regions, particularly those responsible for recognizing familiarity, twitch or send false familiarity signals. A self-aware deja vu is your brain's way of letting you know that the memory you're experiencing is inaccurate. And that's a good thing because it means your frontal lobes are working as they should be. Deja vu is a process of correcting that error and making sure you don't act as though you remember that thing, said O'Connor, one of the few experts on deja vu. There are all sorts of reasons why I think that's the case, but one of them is the paradox that for a memory error, if that's what it is, deja vu happens when people's brains are at their healthiest. So that's interesting. People who have more healthy brains tend to have more situations or experiences of deja vu.
Well, then your brain must be pretty healthy because that happens to you a lot.
Yeah, I do have deja vu quite a bit. He added that for people with certain conditions like dementia, their frontal lobes may fail to fact check properly, resulting in repeated sensations of familiarity. This can become disruptive. So, although it's unclear why humans have this experience, most research into deja vu suggests that it is a phenomenon related to the brain's process for retrieving memories. Walking into a room would be the cue that triggers an involuntary retrieval of memory. There'd be no access to content, meaning there's no memory to compare to the current moment, but the feeling of familiarity is there anyway. So essentially in this story, they're going through, scientists are trying to figure out exactly what is causing deja vu, but I don't know that they're really on. I guess you guys can talk about it. I don't if you want to put anything in chat what you think deja vu is, or if you want to leave it in the comment section below. But essentially, they think that deja vu is the brain. It confirms that deja vu is a memory error.
Meh.
Essentially, I don't know.
Error. I think I don't know. I think deja vu is different for different people.
I think different deja vus can be different things. I definitely think that. I've definitely had times where I felt like I was reliving a moment again. It wasn't like a familiarity with the room. It was like all this has happened before. It's like that kind of feeling. Like I've been here before. This has happened before. I've had this conversation before. I do talk a lot, so maybe I'm just repeating myself. Story number 4, specifically for tonight, the creepy cryptids from Appalachia you probably haven't heard of. In July 2004, Dakota Cheeks and Ricky Joyce were hunting in a remote area of Breckinridge County, Kentucky, when they found one of their dogs dead. Based on the condition of her body, it was clear no normal predator had killed her. Her head was twisted around completely. They hopped on their four-wheelers, determined to scour the area and find the creature responsible. That first day, their search was fruitless, but on the second day, around dusk, they said they came across a massive figure too big to be a person. And as Cheeks described it, an open field just past the cemetery. It was at least 9 feet tall with white fur and long talons. When it saw them, it let out an ungodly, gut-curling growl and charged them, sending them running for their safety, the safety of their cabin. This might sound like a run-in with a particularly aggressive Bigfoot, but while Sasquatch encounters are common in Appalachia, Dakota and Ricky had come across a different local legend, the sheep squatch. Its name reflects its appearance, combining the large, hairy, bipedal form of a Sasquatch with the woolly white fur and curving horns of a sheep. Sheep squatch is just one of many names given to a group of cryptids collectively referred to as the White Things. Other monikers for the creatures include white devils and devil dogs. They're consistently reported as having white fur, long claws, sharp fangs. Beyond this, the details vary. They could be canine, feline, or hominid, with later variety often having a pair of single point horns. But these have been seen quite a bit in Appalachia, specifically in West Virginia. So reports of white things occur across Appalachia, with earliest dates of sightings going all the way back to 1929, and white thing sightings being particularly prevalent in rural West Virginia, centering on the same area of Mason County that reports the more famous cryptid Mothman. And another sighting of this sheep squatch was from a Navy SEAL in 1994.
Wow.
So I thought that was interesting tonight because
Yeah.
it sounds a whole lot like a creature we might be talking about tonight with our guest
Yes.
later on, Rissa Miller. So let's go ahead in the news there. That was the weird news for tonight's Krampus special. Krampus
Good stuff.
Special. Next, we're going to bring on Alyson, the Priestess of Wonderland, to talk about our December moon phase updates. How are you doing, Alyson?
I'm traumatized from that dog story.
That was awful.
You always do this to me. It's like plastic is going to kill you, or dogs are getting murdered in the backyard.
And then our dog started barking in the background,
oh gosh!
right at the end of that story.
Hopefully they're okay.
It's a sheep squatch. Anyway, I heard that December's looking a little crazy. Is this true?
Yeah, I don't like December. So in typical Priestess of Wonderland fashion, we're gonna hang out in La La Land for December, and I'm calling December Dreamy Elf December.
Okay.
So prance around and be silly and goofy like a elf for the month of December. Because I have to talk about Retrograde of Palooza Part 2, but first I'll start with the moon. So we already had our new moon in Sagittarius, and last month in November, I talked about Sagittarius being on that like epic quest and that hero's journey. And we're still continuing that energy because the sun is still in Sagittarius, and then we're in the Sagittarius new moon cycle. So the part of our kind of epic adventure that we're on right now is kind of like the first roadblock or that first obstacle of maybe you get snowed in and have to stay at a tavern, or like you have to like have your armor fixed, or one of your adventure friends like betrayed you and is on the other side, or like there's just this roadblock that we've kind of hit with Mercury retrograde and Mars retrograde. Mars retrograde has that feeling of like being stuck in the mud, and it's going to be retrograde until January. So it's not a time to be like setting your New Year's resolutions and acting on them. We're again having that hibernate, let winter be winter energy for this month. So still like plan your adventure and dream about it and look forward to it. It's just not a time to like be moving on anything. Because like we still have Jupiter, Uranus, and Chiron retrograde as well. And now with Mars and Mercury, the only thing we have left is Saturn, Venus, and Neptune. So Neptune is the planet of dreams and subconscious energy. Venus is the planet of love. Saturn is the planet of boundaries and restrictions, but it's in Pisces. So it's more dreamy subconscious energy. So that's where the dreamy elf energy comes in, is just we're stuck in the mud. We're snowed in at this tavern. Like
it's too cold and windy. Just stay put.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get snowed in. I'll be can snow me in any day now. I'll be okay with that.
I know, me too. So we're just kind of in this weird transition part of our journey. And I really think that we're going to feel that Neptune shift just because Sagittarius is looking for that next thing. And so Neptune going direct is going to help us have clarity instead of when Neptune is retrograde is kind of cloudy and you might be delusional about things, and just we need this clarity, and we can sit and dream about it for the rest of the month. And our full moon is happening December 15th in Gemini, which is also light and fun and playful. And so Sagittarius, a Sagittarius new moon and a Gemini full moon is just kind of like get snowed in the tavern and have a drink and play some songs and open some presents. And I don't know, just like try to stay positive, because I mean, we're stuck in the mud, and that's when the winter blues start to set in. And
Yeah.
so try to like be as playful as possible this month. And all that Sagittarius energy is affecting us until the 21st, which is the winter solstice, and we're shifting into Capricorn. And then we will have a second new moon this month, which is in Capricorn on December 30th. So we actually have 2 new moons this month. We had one December 1st, and then we're going to have one December 30th, which is called a black moon. And you've probably heard of a blue moon, once in a blue moon. That's when we have 2 full moons in a month. But now we're having 2
Weird. That doesn't happen very often, does it?
I think they've started calling it a black moon in like pretty recently, like in the 2000s. So
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about maybe just full moons happen more often. I kind of thought that like a blue moon could be either 2 new moons or 2 full moons, but apparently it's a black moon. So the black moon is, according to Aurora Kane, the author of Moon Magic, this Moon Magic book, was like the only thing I could find about a black moon is that it's your lunar chance to see your inner self clearly, which again is like kind of doubled with that Neptune going direct. So you're seeing your inner self clearly, finding that clarity, listening to the voice within, like paying attention to.
Is it like when Atreyu goes to the Southern Oracle in Neverending Story and has to look at himself in the mirror, and then it's like Bastion?
Yes. Exactly.
Sorry, 80s
Which
kid.
is so funny because I was thinking of Neverending Story with the stuck in the mud analogy.
Oh yeah, we're in the bog of eternal sorrow or whatever it is.
Exactly, that's so perfect.
The swamp of sadness. That's what it is. Swamp of sadness. Yeah.
So
we're on our way to the Southern Oracle to see ourselves in the mirror.
Right. Exactly.
So it really is a journey. It's just the Neverending Story journey. Yeah.
We're just kind of at that first obstacle and that we need to overcome, and that's going to give us the confidence to like move forward again. So it's interesting that like the energy of a black moon in general, a second new moon in general, has that like finding your inner truth but the Capricorn and the Neptune, the Capricorn new moon is really kind of helping you believe in your dreams, because Capricorn has that foundation, like the goats can sense the earthquake coming. Capricorn like knows whether or not you can reach that goal or not. And so a black moon and a Capricorn black moon in near the winter solstice is very much this like finding that light in the darkness and finding that light within. So despite feeling stuck in the mud and maybe catching some winter blues, try to focus on being dreamy and envisioning like what you want to do next year.
All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's a good time for it.
Find your Falcor and go flying through the clouds and
Although I do want to say, Alyson, you said that I always mess you up with the plastic and the dog, but now you left us with the unfortunate memory of our text.
I know. Well, actually,
I think that was much more of a letdown.
That was kind of my fault.
I thought of it as an analogy, but then Jenny brought it up. So,
all right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the moon update. I guess we will let everyone know that you'll be coming on the second on the prediction show. You'll be there, so we'll be going over predictions on January 2nd. And we'll also do the moon update that night because we'll be going into January. So.
Right. Hopefully I'll have better news.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Alyson. It was great having you on.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Let's go ahead and get to our guest tonight. Rissa Miller is an editor, author, herbalist, seer, and storyteller. Her storytelling expertise stems from extensive research into the area of esoteric history, including ghosts, witchcraft, cryptids, and folklore. Rissa believes the most enduring stories teach us not only about humanity's past, but also give reason to reflect on our own present beliefs and realities. She often leads ghost tours and gives lively history talks. Please welcome to the show.
Welcome
For the
back to
second
the
time.
show.
Welcome,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Rissa Miller. How are you doing, Rissa?
Hi, it's great to be back. I'm very well, thanks.
Wonderful.
Yay.
So what have you been up to since we talked to you last?
Gosh, I think I came through ghost tour season since I talked to you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Spooky
yeah, for sure.
season. Yes,
Yeah.
how did that go?
Yeah, it was very busy. I found myself giving talks or tours. Sometimes up to 3 times a day. And
Wow.
it's definitely the busy time of year for me. But we talked before about witch history and things like that, and I did a lot of talks on that too during my spooky season, all the way into November. And I got a short break where I took a whole week off to rest my voice.
Yeah.
And and then jumped right back into it with my Christmas monsters.
Which is what you're here to talk about.
Yeah, excellent.
tonight?
Excellent.
Yes.
We went out on kind of a date night for our anniversary, which is
Which
right
is
around Halloween.
Yeah.
So we went into Richmond and our friend Hans of Richmond, and we did a ghost tour there. And we were talking to him afterwards, and they were just saying, like, it was packed. Like, there was all kinds of ghost
So
tours
many
going
people.
on.
Yeah.
And they said it had been a really busy season. So I imagine from what you said, it was kind of the same way there, which is wonderful news. It's great to, to see that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's good. There were so many groups out though, because we had been up to Richmond like the weekend before, and there were ghost tour stuff just going on everywhere. So it's great to see. And I've noticed that is creeping. I've seen, granted it's my feed, so I got a weird, creepy news feed on my social media accounts, but it seems like this year, maybe recently, but I'm definitely seeing a kick kind of going in from that Halloween season into the Yule season now of kind of bringing back this idea of the spooky and the ghost storytelling back into the American Christmas tradition. Have you noticed that as well, or?
Well, I think each year I've seen a little more. So I've been doing this presentation since before the pandemic, maybe since 2018, 2019. And it's always popular. People always want to know more. More and more towns are starting to have Krampus parades and festivals. Today is the day, by the way.
Today is Krampus Day.
It's indeed Krampus Day. So if any of your listeners have been bad, they need to be careful because
I can think of a few.
I know a couple, probably.
Yeah. Any moment, Krampus could be tapping on their window. So, but not just Krampus. There are other creatures that walk this night. The Belsnickel, the Whipping Father, all sorts of other creatures. So,
I have an unusual question, but I always ask weird things about butts.
Let's hear it.
But I saw a video of a Krampus knocks the going through the town and somewhere in Austria.
Yeah, and Austria is big in Krampus. Yep.
As the Krampus characters were going by, I noticed that they all had these big, round, shiny butts. What is? Do you know what's up with that?
I don't know the Krampus butt. That has not entered into my research, and you're the first person to ask it.
Of course.
Krampus butts would definitely be a Team Weird question there, I think, for sure.
Yep,
it looked like 2 little shiny mixing bowls on the rear ends of these Krampuses.
Well, that sounds a little bit more like the Tio de Nadal to me, but we can get to that later. The creature that poops Christmas gifts. But
yes, we know all
yeah.
about that. We
Yeah,
have a friend that has that on her Twitch every Christmas.
yeah. So, I saw some folks go by that say they were Dutch and they don't have Krampus. Well, nowadays everybody has Krampus.
Everybody has Krampus.
Yeah, Krampus has become an international phenomenon. He even has a Funko Pop that is available at Walmart.
Ooh.
So I think that's kind of like your mainstream. When that's happened, you've definitely hit the big time.
Absolutely.
But
Secret Santa, by the way, Secret Santa would be the Krampus Funko Pop.
There you go.
There's a wish list there.
Whoever has Frosty for Secret Santa, you know what to get them.
Absolutely, that sounds like the gift that gives all year long, really.
There you go.
But yes, in the Netherlands, they have their own monster. He is a Zwarte Piet. But if those of your listeners who were saying they were Dutch, the Zwarte Piet has been outlawed in many parts of the Netherlands because of, how do I say this? The fact that the creature uses blackface. So even the United Nations has asked the Netherlands to stop with the Zwarte Piet, the Black Peter. Because it is such a racist-looking character,
that's understandable.
Yeah. So, there are monsters everywhere. It's not just Krampus. Krampus is just, like I said, kind of like the All-Star.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Krampus is the All-Star. So I even have my Switches here with me tonight.
Ooh.
So I'm alone, so there's nobody here for me to use them on. But just so everybody can see it, I did bring my Switches along to celebrate the occasion of Krampus.
Here we go. So Krampus night. So let's get into it a little bit here, because I know a little bit about Krampus and like Germanic. I guess mostly Germanic tradition. I know like Austria and stuff. But
Austria and Germany, yes. And now there are other Christmas monsters within the German pantheon, but the Krampus is. How do I say this? Historians don't agree on the origin point of Krampus. It's just there's a lot of places where it could have started, and nobody knows for sure. We're going to just say the actual 100% sure origin is lost to time.
Yeah.
Some people say it is a Catholic Church origin, like a demon. Other people say there's a pagan origin. The reality is nobody knows for sure.
Yeah.
And we're never going to find out, and it's okay. We can still enjoy Krampus. That said, let's look at both possibilities. So, if it was indeed a demon, we do still call Krampus the Christmas demon, and part of the story is that Krampus carries bad children back to hell to eat them over the course of the year. He has the large basket on his back. This is terrifying, by the way. I hope you don't have too many children listening.
We shouldn't have any children.
Okay. Just
not
checking.
That I know of. Children, go to bed.
This is nightmare worthy. So Krampus, this huge fuzzy beast, he has goat horns and possibly hooves, sometimes fangs, the very long tongue that hangs out, usually would accompany Saint Nicholas on this very night. Saint Nicholas might indeed be rewarding good children, and Krampus will be collecting and or punishing the bad kids. Now, if he's collecting them, they're going back to hell to be eaten. If he's punishing them, he's probably hitting them with switches, or in a more modern retelling, he has a whip. Take your choice. There are other versions of Krampus where, how do I say this in the right way? He comes to visit the ladies. This came out more around the Victorian era. You can even find these. I don't have any. I wish I did. These old Victorian postcards of, ladies entertaining the Krampus. So he does have a very long tongue, and he's quite hairy, and some ladies find this very appealing. So,
Come and take the bad children, and then gets to hang out, have fun for a while.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess if he takes the bad children away, maybe they're happy to be, guiltless for the night. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if the kids actually even need to go to bed. I think the kids need to hear this because they need to tighten up.
Get it together,
I mean, the last thing you want,
Well, you know,
That's
I
the last
really
thing
love
you
the
want.
Victorian postcards of the Krampus. That is actually, it was the Victorians who kind of brought Krampus into the mainstream.
Mhm.
Before Victorians started creating postcards, Victorians actually gave us the Christmas card, by the way,
Yeah.
because that's when printing became less expensive. And they started to create postcards, and then they started to create really weird
Really weird
cards.
postcards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super strange, like dead frogs and dead birds and
Yes.
all kinds of just incredibly strange things. But that was, how do I say this in the right way? In the Victorian sensibility, that made sense. That was just part of
Mhm.
how they viewed life, I guess you would say. So all of that, they popularized Krampus. It was that point in history when Krampus kind of left the German Alpine region and hit it across the world. And Krampus sort of had in the 2000s is when Krampus became even more popular.
Yeah.
He sort of started to spread throughout America and other places in the world and become an international phenomenon that he is today. Lots of movies, video games, all the stuff featuring Krampus now.
Yeah, I remember when the big, like, the Krampus movie was made. I had heard of Krampus maybe a few years before that, and then it just took off really quick. But it doesn't really surprise me because so many of our American Christmas traditions have a Germanic origin
It's true.
that
The Christmas
it's
tree,
not.
for example. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's just like another part of that German Christmas that kind of got exported to America, I guess.
absolutely.
Um, and
Absolutely.
it's interesting because today we have Krampus Day or Krampus Night, and tomorrow is the 6th, which is Saint Nicholas's Day.
Stay. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
for people who don't know, that's actually when originally a lot of the gift giving and Saint Nicholas would come and all of those things. So that got moved to December
Well,
25th.
that makes sense because Krampus has to come get rid
Exactly.
of all the bad kids so that
Yeah.
Saint Nicholas can give all the good kids stuff.
So like you were talking about at the beginning of the show, tonight's the night because
Tonight's
tonight,
the night.
Krampus comes and then, Santa's gonna be right behind him for St. Nicholas's Day. So
We know
yeah.
one of your listeners in the chat talked about how the Zwarte Piet is like a Krampus cut and paste, and that's true. But he's not the only one. There are quite a
Mm,
few Krampus cut and pastes, and we kind of categorize them all as the anti-Santas.
Oh, yeah.
But before we dig into any more of the anti-Santas, I would love to talk for a second about Saint Nicholas, who was a real person.
yeah.
Actually a real human, actually sainted, grew up very wealthy, and then committed himself to the church in his lifetime, and was known for being, because he was so rich and he inherited all his parents' money, he was known for being very generous and extremely helpful to the poor and to those in need. There's a lot of folklore around Nicholas and his life,
Mhm.
and one of my favorite pieces of this folklore is that he is responsible for the origin of the Christmas stocking. Is this true? I don't know. I think this is just a really good story. I'm not sure if this happened. Nobody knows. But the story goes that Nicholas was traveling, and he overheard about a father who wanted to be able to marry off his 3 daughters. Now, historically, to marry off your 3 daughters, you needed dowries. And we don't obviously we moved past this as a society, but a dowry was money or sheep or something that you paid to the husband to marry your daughter. And the bigger of a dowry you had, the better of a marriage you could purchase for your daughter. But this gentleman was very poor, and he ended up telling his daughters, like, I cannot afford a good marriage for you. And in order to make a financial save on this, some of you might have to go into being sex workers.
Mm.
And Nicholas hears the story, allegedly, and decides that he wants to save them. And that night, he goes back, and the girls have hung their socks or stockings out to dry after hand washing them. And he fills them all with gold. Is this really the origin of the Christmas stocking? I mean, probably not. But it is an absolutely lovely story, and I'm sure it originated to sort of illustrate his kindness and generosity Even he allegedly never asked for credit for this. He didn't identify himself to the family, which makes me wonder how where did the story come from? But like I said, I think it's folklore. It's a great piece of folklore. And like I said, I'm pretty sure it was created to illustrate his kindness. So he was a real person. He lived a long life. And then when he passed away, folklore continued around him. So allegedly, his tomb used to seep this thick goo, this oozy stuff, that what do they call it? Manna. And you could go and collect the ooze from his tomb, and it would allegedly cure anything. So years went by, and this sounds a little bit like folklore to me too. Some sailors decided to collect the bones of St. Nicholas and redistribute them. And basically, this was the highest bidder kind of situation. So St. Nicholas's bones to this day are spread across the world. And I believe that one piece of St. Nicholas is in Virginia.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, there's a piece in Virginia. There's a piece in Canada. There's a bunch throughout Europe. So the bones of St. Nicholas were spread throughout the world because this particular group of sailors split it up and basically, like I said, auctioned the pieces off to the highest bidder for like good luck or however you want to call it, like good fortune, good health. However they sold it, they were probably brilliant marketers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. There's so much like folklore that surrounds St. Nicholas.
Absolutely.
And then like who he was and like who he represents, I think has been pretty fascinating. Are you familiar
there's so
with
many versions of St. Nicholas now too? I mean,
Yeah.
we have Santa Claus, but Santa Claus was mostly created by advertising companies,
Yeah.
which is fine. And it's a lovely story. It's a really lovely story, but nothing to do with who St. Nicholas actually was to the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I think there's our Santa Claus is really interesting because it's a mix of so many things, but like I think there's a little bit of Odin that got put into
Yes,
St.
that's
Nicholas
correct.
there too.
Yep, lots of historians believe that to be true.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the symbol of St. Nicholas, like what his symbol was, like the 3 like gold bags?
I don't know it.
It actually comes from that story. So like when he's giving the money like through the window or into the stocking or whatever, so that ends up becoming the Catholic symbol for St. Nicholas, which ends up being 3 gold balls.
Right.
Well, he's the patron saint of children,
right,
but he also is the patron saint of merchants
and other things too.
Yeah. So he ends up so interestingly enough, when you see a pawn shop now and you have the 3 balls for the pawn shop, it's actually St. Nicholas's symbol.
Oh, I love
because
that.
he's the
That's
patron
great.
saint for merchants. Yeah.
But also the patron saint of wolves and New York City and butchers and prostitutes.
That's a wide variety of things. That
It is. It is. Well, you have to be able to multitask when you're a saint, I suppose.
That's true.
Yeah.
You got to have a little bit of all of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I never heard the goop coming from the tomb.
No, I hadn't heard the goop
before.
Either.
Yeah, it is.
That's
Like I said, it was
interesting
a healing magic kind of thing. So, there you have it.
Yikes. I'm not eating anything that comes out of somebody's tomb. Sorry.
But the whole Krampus thing came as his opposite, right?
Yeah.
Unless it did indeed come from a pagan tradition where it would have been Krampus would have been his own entity, kind of representing the dark of night, the winter solstice. I guess we probably could have started there. The whole dark of night in the winter solstice, it is obviously, I'm sure all your listeners know this, the longest night. But in an agrarian society, that was terrifying.
Terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying because nothing's growing. Your water's frozen. You still have to feed animals, potentially, your family, and you have all of this time where you're waiting for the sun to come back so that things grow again and the water thaws. So literally, a lot of these old stories represent the frozen time, the cold time, these dark, dark nights where it's very cold and nothing's alive. So it is
where you have the more of a potential of people and things dying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially in Germanic Europe and Scandinavia, like
Yeah.
things are getting pretty brutal about
we think
now.
cold
Yeah.
right now, and that's not.
We had to be outside for 2 hours for a Christmas parade the other night. And we thought we were going to die from exposure to the cold weather in the American
Yeah.
South. So I can only imagine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
With hot chocolate and coffee. Yeah, it's a little different.
And you probably had on like a good amount of layers and
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they didn't have all those luxuries in the past.
No,
You know,
first
there were
world
no
problems.
there were no hand warmers, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I could have used a good
pagan
beer
origin
for-
of the monsters, absolutely the personification of winter. Even native cultures have personifications of winter in their lore, like Wendigo. So, you know, it's kind of just the storytelling aspects of the monsters that lead to this dark time. But then again, you have the Catholic Church version, which is the demon that drags bad children to hell.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
both stories are
Yeah.
good. Both stories
They
are
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's just, that's just our human history. It all got really mixed up at some point, and now that's what it is for us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I saw one of the comments here too from Kelleth I put up earlier. Here, Saint Nick is literally a replacement for Odin, hence the white horse. If it had 8
Oh,
legs,
right.
it would be more
The
obvious.
8 legs. Yeah.
But I
8
do
reindeer,
have
8
something.
legs. Yeah.
Tiny
Yeah, there's
reindeer,
8
yep.
reindeer, and
Yeah.
there's 8 reindeer for a reason.
I've definitely heard that comparison
Yeah.
before. But then also you have the Yule goat stories as well.
Yeah.
We've been talking
associated-
about
Look up.
goats a lot tonight.
Have a little Yule goat right there.
I'm ready for more Yule goat stories now.
All right.
Tell us about the Yule goat.
Yeah, let's
'cause
learn about the
So
Yule
there's
goat.
I
actually
only know a little bit.
there are several tellings of the Yule goat, and I have one here in my bag of goodies. So here, well, you got to remember also Krampus could be part goat, right?
Yeah.
Here are one of an example. One of the iterations of the Yule goat has to do with collecting the last wheat of the year. And or grain rather, whatever.
You
whatever
guys
grain.
have matching goats.
Yay! We have multiple Yule goats.
There we go.
And yes, here's the front view of mine. Looks very similar.
Yeah.
And so the story with this Yule goat has a lot more to do with harvest and making the sacrifice for the next harvest. So, and some of the other traditions around Yule are the same. Like the whole wassail thing with the Mari Lwyd and all of that. There's the whole orchard part of that too. This is a sacrifice, I guess you would say, back to nature to allow for a good harvest again the following year. And that is the story behind this particular Yule goat. But there's another Yule goat. Would PETA get involved? Okay, hang on with it. one moment on that. The other Yule goat, my personal favorite Yule goat, is the one that comes to judge you. And a lot of people believe the origin of this are the goats that pulled Odin's carriage, sleigh, whatever you want to call it, vehicle. And that allegedly they could be very judgy, teeth grinder and teeth gnasher. And the story is that this Yule goat comes and he will have gifts on his pack, but they're not for everyone. They're only for people and who have satisfied the goat's need for an excellent Christmas showing. And basically, people have to, how do you say it, meet his standards. And if they don't meet his standards, he will then proceed to bash in their door and knock their door frame down and destroy their home.
Wow.
But yeah, if he judges their decor to be up to snuff and good enough, they get gifts from his pack. And I love the illustrations of this particular Yule goat because you can kind of see him judging, and he's often portrayed like Black Phillip, which is nothing to do with Christmas, but everything to do with a movie. He gets somebody just said he can destroy my doors all he wants. I would actually love a Yule goat to come visit just to see it, but I make a very poor showing in my holiday decor, so I would probably get.
I'm pretty proud of my decor, so I'll take.
You're
my
ready.
chances with
You're
it.
ready
I'm
for the
good
Yule
to
goat to
go.
come.
It's your gift.
Yeah.
But yeah, I I would actually love to see this Yule goat show up at people's doors. Years ago, I did this as a talk, as a presentation, and we did it as a fundraiser for an animal sanctuary. And they had a lot of goats, and they were like, "We have some judgy goats here. Would you like us to bring them in for the presentation?" I was like, "I don't know, why not? Let's try it." So yeah, we had goats on hand judging people at one of our presentations in the past.
I love it.
So
Wonderful.
real goats. So,
Judgy. Who knew goats were so judgy?
they can be tough. Honestly, they can be really, really tough.
Oh yeah.
So
I think I got chased by one as a kid. I remember.
oh yeah, they can be really mean.
Yeah.
Yes, you have an awesome crowd here that are kind of like keeping up and like talking about other aspects of the same stories.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed because all of these stories have many aspects. They have many different levels and layers, and we could talk for like 5 hours if we were going to go through everything.
Oh, for sure.
The stories travel through time and space.
They do.
And then they get changed and more things get added. And
absolutely. Yeah. But they are so much fun. And like I said, I love this time of year because there's all this like spooky stuff that isn't necessarily the same thing as a ghost story. Well, I mean, I love a ghost story, don't get me wrong. And traditionally, there would be a lot of ghost stories this time of year too. But let's be real, these stories are amazing. These creatures, these monsters, we have a demon Krampus running around, and Frau Perchta cutting people open with knives, and Yule goats judging us, and Yule cats killing people who don't get clothing. We have an ogress who's taking children and carrying them on 16 tails. I mean, there's so many fantastic scary stories. I think the Mari Lud is one of my favorites.
Yes.
She is the skeleton horse. Yes, they are. I would agree with your follower here who just said they're spookier than Halloween. I agree. So this is a 3D printed horse skull. So if anybody from PETA is watching, we're good to go. And the story of the Mari Lud, the origin of the gray mare is unknown. There are people who speculate that it comes from a story in the Welsh pantheon of horses, gray or white horses that could travel between worlds. But the reality is we don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it started there. But the Mari Lud became a singing, rhyming phenomenon in the in the pantheon of Christmas monsters. She is my favorite. She will knock on your door with all of the other wassailers, which we would think of as carolers in the United States. And everybody's dressed up.
Yeah, we gotta go wassailing. Yep.
Right. When I say the word wassail, most people think I'm only talking about wine punch. Because that's actually, in America, it is marketed in a bottle that sasays wassail. I even, in fact, purchased a candle this year that says wassail fragrance. And I'm like, does it smell like a horse? Let me check it out. No, it smells like wine punch and cinnamon, but not like a skeleton horse that rhymes. But the tradition would be that you would need somebody quite clever to play the part of the Mari Lud, because they would have to engage the homeowners into a battle of rhymes. Most of the time you want the Mari Lud to win. It's very lucky to have this wassailing group stop at your home, especially if they have a Mari Lud with them. So they are going to knock on the door. You're going to rhyme against a skeleton horse.
It's like a rap battle.
It's just like it is like an epic rap battle before that was a thing. So I actually had the absolute pleasure last year of meeting a woman who portrays the Mari Lud, and she has gone to Wales and she has studied it, and she actually speaks the language, the Welsh language, and she can rhyme in English or Welsh. Welsh being a variety of English, but doesn't sound anything like what we're saying right now. She was amazing. She could even sing and rhyme at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And
that's really cool.
Yeah, I wish that I could work with her during every single one of my talks, because she was so fantastic. So that said, you want to lose this rhyme battle because you want to invite the Mari Lud in. It's very lucky to have her come and pick you. So once they get inside, you're going to offer them wassail, of course, which is hot wine punch. And there are lots of different ways it was made historically, but I can tell you that it used to have milk in it. We don't really do that anymore. Nowadays, it's either like an apple cider based punch with wine, or more of like a red wine with cranberry punch. It's sort of regionally different in different parts of the United States.
So that's why it's called wassailing, because the people are
Yes.
going to the house to sing or
Yes.
whatever,
They're
so
going to
that they
wassailing.
get invited in to drink. I didn't know
And people would
that.
often eat as well. Like if you knew there was a wassailing group coming around your neighborhood, you would probably be ready. You would be hoping that they stopped at your place. But the flip side of the wassail is that they would also go to your orchard, and they would take wine-soaked toast and place it on the boughs of the trees to sort of bless them and make an offering to the trees and the tree spirits to give you a good harvest next year from your orchard as well.
That's really cool.
So yeah, it's a very complicated process. They often had whole skits they would do. Sometimes they took a Punch and Judy along. It was a very, historically speaking, there was a lot to the wassail.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was like a part of it too where like if they came a wassailing, someone from that home also had to join the group, I think, or something.
It was practiced that way in some places.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. To me, it sounds great. It's like I tell Ginny this every year, but like I'm kind of disappointed that like we don't do that stuff as much now. Like I think that would be a great fun tradition. I mean, not just because I want to get drunk, but because I want to participate, in like this kind of festive, like, I don't know. It sounds
because
really
you
cool.
want to dress
Like
up with a horse
fun.
skull.
Yeah, why
let's
not?
do it.
And get in a sick rap battle. Yeah.
Yeah. So
why
I did purchase this with the intention that I will, over the course of the year, start to decorate it. I don't know how well I will rhyme, but I will certainly give it a whirl. But I figured nobody else except other people who do Mari Lud rhyme.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a shot. And also the other thing she does is snap her jaws. So
yeah.
That's part of her performance is snapping her jaws at people.
That's cool.
And I'm excited to explore that a little more over the course of the year. It'd be way too quick of a turnaround to try to do it this year. But I'm here for the Mari Lud. I think it's just such a cool tradition.
I think that could make a really good YouTube video of just like getting people together to do that, and then going to a bunch of people's houses who have no clue what in the heck is going on.
Oh yeah, so I have this piece of artwork. You can see that they usually decorate her with like Christmas bulbs in the eye, and she would have greenery and ribbons, and they're actually usually they're really cool to look at. So it's one of those things to definitely Google and look at some of them. They're really, really beautiful. Some of them are quite creative.
Very cool.
Frosty would be a very scary Mari Lud because he's so tall. And we did just buy him a dress because he had to do a drag stream for everybody. So there you go, Frosty. Now we know what to use that dress for.
Yeah, all you need to do now is find the horse skull and you're ready
get
to
you
go.
the horse skull. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. Let's do it.
I did also just find my Krampus ornament here.
Oh,
I thought I'd share with you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have a ginger. Isn't he cute? He was made by an artist named Kate Rush, and he's a gingerbread Krampus ornament.
I love it.
Yeah, I thought he was cute. I should have had him out earlier, but I guess
that makes me want to find a Krampus cookie cutter for this year.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
They're out there. I have one. I don't have one here with me tonight, but I do have one. And they're out there. I believe I purchased mine on Etsy.
We're gonna have to find.
Secret Santa for Ginny. No.
Let's get Krampus things.
We're doing a Team Weird Secret Santa this year, Rissa. So we have a secret that we did. So everyone has drawn different names, and so that's why we're dropping the Secret Santa stuff today.
Well, if you love Krampus, there's a lot of Krampus stuff on Etsy, and it's all made by small business people. So it's a great resource. And I would have to say, what I do for the Yule Goat, if he's listening, most of the holiday stuff I have is probably from Etsy or from like little art galleries where they have weird Christmas stuff.
Cool.
So yeah.
If the Yule Goat's listening, so he can judge you well.
Yeah.
I hope he'll judge me
Yeah.
and know that I'm trying to keep it weird. And I did purchase this from an artist. It is a Yule goat, and it says, "This is adequate."
I love it.
Which, I mean, I hope
great.
that's my story as well when Yule goat comes. Like, I hope I'm adequate.
That
you know?
works, right? As
Yeah,
long as you're
adequate
adequate.
Yeah.
I don't need the gift from Yule Goat's pack. Like, let's just make it adequate. That'd be
Let's just make it out. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So oh my
fun.
gosh, though, but I feel like there's so many other good monsters. Tonight I'm coming to you from Pennsylvania, so we should definitely talk about Belsnickel.
Belsnickel.
This is a Belsnickel that I purchased at a museum in Pennsylvania a few years ago. And as you can see, he is a human. Belsnickel is a man. And he's a little bit beat up and tattered, and he's wearing rags, and he's also carrying switches. So Belsnickel is another German figure. And he traveled to the United States first with the Pennsylvania Dutch, who were not Dutch. They were German. It's Pennsylvania Deutsch. It's just a mispronunciation. Yeah. Yes. Belsnickel, your listener is correct. Belsnickel is kind of like a more American version of Neck Ruprecht, who was also another German Punisher that would travel with St. Nicholas. And the Belsnickel has really taken off since appearing on The Office. I don't know if you remember the show The Office. I believe it was 2012 when Dwight portrayed the Belsnickel on the show, and suddenly Belsnickel was everywhere.
I don't remember that episode. We're gonna have to go back and watch.
You're gonna have to find it. You can actually watch it for free now because so many people have clipped it and put it out there. But he dressed up as Belsnickel. Now, Belsnickel will traditionally test the children. He won't just come and beat them. The idea is that Belsnickel takes his whip and like taps on the window. This is the story I was told as a little girl. I did grow up in Pennsylvania, and he taps on the window with the end of his whip, and he'll come in and he'll ask any child, not just the good or bad ones, whatever, any child for like a quiz. I was told it would be questions from school. Some people are told they would have to sing a song or talk about their chores or, you know, how well they have been doing in the past year. Fill in the blank. How well have you been behaving? How good of a kid are you? And if you're a good kid, he's going to reach into his pockets and throw some like fruit and nuts and candy on the floor for you to pick up. But if you're too eager, he'll whip you anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, you can't be too eager with Belsnickel.
Don't jump at that fruit.
Don't jump at the fruit. But if you're bad, he's going to whip you. But if you're really bad, he's going to leave a whip for your parents to continue beating
Oh
you
my goodness.
throughout the course of the year. So, and like I said, this was the Christmas monster I grew up with in Pennsylvania. And it before The Office, which was the story was based of The Office in Pennsylvania. That's how it got on there.
Mm-hmm.
Before The Office, it was really just Pennsylvania, Maryland, Ohio that remembered Belsnickel or Belsnickeling. Belsnickeling also became a thing where a group of young men, usually, sometimes young women as well, would dress up as Belsnickels and take a large amount of alcohol and go through towns either singing or making mischief or pretending to be Belsnickels. But anyway, kind of like the wassail, but a bit rowdier. Maybe more like the old tradition of mumming than wassail. So
They're not blessing your orchards.
They're not blessing your orchards. They are there to be wild. Yes, the Belsnickel is the villain in the Second Christmas Chronicles. I did see that recently. And I don't think the Belsnickel in that one is portrayed in quite as dark a way as it was to me as a child. And also they have Yule Cat in that Christmas Chronicles, which is
they do.
so exciting. When they call the Yule Cat Jola. Which was super fun to see a big, wily Yule Cat. I feel as though Yule Cat really deserves his own movie where he's not just a sidekick to a Belsnickel.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, those two stories don't overlap all that much. I'm here for it. It's creative, and I appreciate that they did it. But I still think Yule Cat should have his own feature film and mass distribution. I'm ready for that.
I would imagine, and this is just pure speculation on my part, but I imagine that we have the Yule Cat, which is Scandinavian, and the Scandinavian cat that I know is a Norwegian forest cat.
Right. It's a big
So
cat.
if it's a giant Norwegian forest cat, I am here for it. I'll watch a whole movie about that because that's like my favorite kind of cat. I had one at one point. It's like my favorite cat ever. So I'm all about a giant Yule Cat movie. I'll take it.
We should probably backtrack for those of you listening who don't know Yule Cat
Yes,
or only know
please.
Yule Cat from the Christmas Chronicles.
Mhm.
Christmas Chronicles doesn't really explain Yule Cat completely. So Yule Cat is the pet of Gryla, who is an ogress who lives in the mountains and comes down around this time of year to collect and eat bad children. She is on her third husband. She did eat the first two because they were not satisfactory.
They were not adequate.
They were not adequate. The Yule Goat would have been like, nope, not good enough. So she ate them. Now, in different tellings, Gryla is of different sizes. Sometimes Gryla is enormous, like several stories tall, and has 16 tails. And she can carry multiple bags of bad children on her tails. And then she takes them back and makes stew from them.
So she's one up in Krampus. She can carry a lot more baskets.
Yeah. So I'm not going to lie here. The females of the category, Frau Perchta and Gryla, I think they're scarier.
That makes sense. We
I
always
do.
get a bad rep.
Yeah, I think they're scarier. Personal opinion. But so Gryla has her sons. They are the Yule Lads. And they've been kind of Disneyfied in the past few years, even by the Icelandic government. But they've been made to be kind of like sanitized and more like elves. But they weren't always like that. They used to come and they would have names like Sausage Swiper. And they were going to come and steal all your sausages that you put up for the winter. And now that was serious business. Like, you wanted your sausages put up for the winter, or you might not have food. And they would do things like slam doors and lick pots and bang things in your house. There was one called Skirt Blower, who, I mean, you fill in the blanks of what he did. So those were her children, the Yule Lads. Yule Cat doesn't appear in storybooks until the 1800s, and Gryla and the Yule Lads are a little older. But all families need a pet, right? I mean, you've got to have that animal to make your home complete. And Yule Cat or Jola is that creature for this family. Now, Yule Cat stands about 2 stories high in most tellings, so taller than most houses. And if you are not gifted clothing for the holiday, he will come and eat you.
Wow.
Now, this is relevant because historically speaking, you had to finish spinning your flax or wool very quickly before the cold, hard winter would set in. So if you didn't, you should be punished. But if you did, you would usually be rewarded by your employer or your family with a scarf or socks or something to help you keep warm, something from, that year's harvest, if you will, of flax or wool. Now, somebody says, wait, what would it do? It would eat you. It would eat you if you were not gifted clothing.
You better get them socks, people. That's why. That's why moms give the socks and the underwear. You just go with it.
Make sure that you have somebody gifting you clothing this year so that the Christmas cat doesn't come for you. There is a fantastic series put out by PBS where they talk about monsters, and they call the Yule Cat the Murder Floof. And I thought this was so funny. I literally, just like you all both laughed, I cracked up out loud. I was like, the Murder Floof, that's it. So yes, the Murder Floof is also known as Yule Cat. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the whole purpose. The Purple Throne is you can tell your children that, and then you can make sure they get their stuff in line. Get everything ready to go.
Well, yet so many of these stories are cautionary tales, because if your family didn't act right during the cold part of the year, somebody could die.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a real concern. You know, you had to work together to get through this cold, hard winter. And so
And we
all of
all
these
know
monsters,
that children do not listen. So
That's
you got to
right.
make it scary.
yeah,
Yeah.
you will get eaten by the cat.
And even
Exactly.
now, I mean, you're going to grandma's house and you're not going over there wearing that. You need to put on the nice sweater that grandma got you. And if
Yeah,
you don't, then you can get eaten by the murder floof. Yeah.
that's right. The murder floof might come for you. It's a real concern. Absolutely. So yeah. Let me think. Oh, we did mention Frau Perchta. Let's go back to that. So she is another
Yeah, I'm not
Alpine.
familiar with that one as much.
Oh,
so that,
okay.
Yeah.
So she is kind of witchy and interesting character. She's also from the Alpine region, and she can appear either as the crone or as the maiden.
Mhm.
And it kind of how she appears kind of depends on you. She might come to check on the children, but she's also coming to check on the lady of the house. She wants to make sure that all the chores are done and that the house is in good order. Now she usually
we need
comes
that.
around the time of Epiphany, which is January 6th, I think. And if the house is not in order and you haven't left her a bowl of porridge, she likes porridge, nothing else. She might, in fact, decide to take out her long, skinny knife, gut the lady of the house, and fill her up with straw, stones, and garbage instead of her entrails. So she's a terrifying Christmas monster.
Yikes.
Absolutely frightening. And she has kids, too. They are called the Perchten. And they look, to me, very similar to Krampus's. But they don't come on December 5th. They come in January. They come later. So that's really the only way you know the difference. If you live in that area and you're concerned about Krampus and you get through early December, you better keep working on your chores and keep your crap together, because Frau Perchta and her Perchten sons are still yet to come. And you've gotta keep your act together the rest of the month and the rest of the winter.
Yeah, that one's even scarier. I think that one might take the cake on scary.
Yeah, I gotta.
It's pretty
that
scary.
house clean.
It is. Yeah, you got to keep your house clean. This is also related to spinning, just kind of like the Yule Cat. You want to make sure to be finished spinning your wool and flax into thread. So, that's part of that story as well.
My goodness. Some terrifying stuff.
Yeah, like I said, I think the two ladies' stories are a bit scarier.
Absolutely.
Krampus is terrifying, no doubt about it. You know who else is the murder floof is scary, but I think the Calicantaros are also scary. So in different tellings, they're either vampires or goblins, but either way, they have vampiric tendencies. And this is more Mediterranean. And
yes, we talked. So real quick, I don't mean to interrupt, but last year we did we kind of went through a show and we kind of talked about some of these Christmas cryptids, so to speak. And this is one of the ones that I had that we talked about, that and Frau Perchta actually, that I had never heard about, but I was kind of learning about just on my own. So I was going to ask you about this tonight specifically because I had never heard of this until I started doing a little research on this last year. So tell us.
Oh, okay, sure. So I didn't know if you wanted to take it away. So
no.
I don't know anything about them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the Calicantaros there's so many origin stories of them, but I think the one that I have read about the most is that this is what happens if you were born on Christmas Day. You become one of these creatures.
Oh my goodness.
As a punishment for being born on Jesus's birthday. Now, like I said, there are other origin stories for them, but this one is common. And what happens is that during the 12 days of Christmas, you will turn into this creature. You can only come out at night, and then you will go during the day back underground, where you are going to start to try to cut down the tree of life. This is your daytime activity while you're resting. You're trying to cut it down from the roots, and then during the night, you come back out. Again, like I said, this is kind of vampiric. So the next thing to know about the Calicantaros, they do want to punish bad children, but they also punish adulterating adults. So if you are going to sneak out at night to cheat on your spouse or partner, one of them could be waiting on the roof. Jump down onto your shoulders, and they have these massive long claws. And they will wrap the claws around your shoulders, dig into the flesh of your shoulder, and then make you run all night instead of going to see your lover. They will make you run until dawn when they go back underground to punish you for being an adulterer.
Wow.
Now, there are ways to prevent a visit from the Calicantaros. They apparently are wild for sausages. So you can
Again with the sausages.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with the sausages. Probably because that is how people could store food long term.
Yeah.
So they enjoy sausages. You can leave sausages out for them, and they will get distracted eating the sausages and forget to come in and punish you or your children. You can also leave this is more of a vampire thing. You can leave a colander outside, and they will get distracted counting the holes. You know, like the vampires counting the rice. Similar idea.
I heard of that before. Maybe it was from last year. I think I had heard of the counting the holes thing before. I don't know where though.
So they'll get distracted counting the holes. This is also part of the vampire folklore as well. And they will forget to come inside and torture you or your family. Now, the other thing to know is the Calicantaros can come down your chimney like Santa Claus.
Oh.
Yeah, right. What you can do, however, and not only do you have to keep a fire burning. This was in one of the episodes of the new Sabrina. They had Calicantaros, I believe, and they had to keep a fire burning. They did follow that legend. But you also can burn really stinky shoes or socks. And apparently they despise the smell. So they, will just stay out of your chimney. Now they could still come in the door, or they could still be waiting for you outside. But these are the ways you can prevent, for the 12 days of Christmas, the Calicantaros from coming after you and your family. They will come inside. They will eat all your food, trash your place, eat your children if they're bad, and just generally create havoc. They're just very chaotic creatures in the pantheon.
Sounds like the easiest thing is to put the colander out, let them count some holes.
Right? I'd be like, I have a whole collection of colanders I've gotten together this year. We're gonna
leave them out all over the place.
Yep.
I don't know about.
Sounds like Gremlins. Yeah, maybe this was the forerunner. Excuse me, maybe the forerunner of Gremlins were the Calicantaros, because they do. In some drawings, they're very small. In other drawings, they're enormous. So it really just depends on who is telling the story and what region of the Mediterranean area they're coming from.
Yeah, I can see that. Gremlins. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, I'd rather not have to burn smelly socks and shoes. Let's go with the colander.
Yeah. Yeah, and the description I had of them last year when I was learning about them last year, they were described as kind of like black goblins.
Yes, so, that's definitely one of the tellings of them.
Yeah. So it's interesting. That was one I had never heard of before until I went out. I was like, what are all the Christmas stuff? And,
oh my gosh. I think in my actual presentation, I have over 36 or 37.
Wow.
There are a lot.
I guess probably because it's Mediterranean. And we usually get more of Northern European stuff in America.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I did have a young lady at one of my presentations, and she was Greek. And she said that she grew up with this story, and that her grandmother used to tell it that, the Christmas vampires were coming and they had to get ready. And they would literally hang sausages outside, which I was like, I think that's absolutely amazing. My family did no such thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
People are hanging up all kinds of stuff at Christmas time. Sausages.
Yes. Sausages.
Yeah.
Colanders.
Yeah.
They're like, look at my new clothing, right?
Got to worry about whether the goat's going to like it or not. This is a lot of work.
This is a lot of extra. Like, you already thought the holidays were stressful. Now add all of this on top. And especially when you've got like Frau Perch to come in to judge the cleanliness of your home.
Yeah, make sure the house is clean. Leave the sausage out. But there's like
wearing good clothes.
I thought the elf on the shelf was stressful.
Kids got to be learning all that. Yeah.
Well, the elf on the shelf is a fairly new creature in the pantheon.
Yeah.
So, actually, I love the ghoul on the stool. I don't know if you've ever seen him.
Oh yes,
Yeah, he's
that
pretty
would,
cute too.
that would probably
So.
be more fun.
And
So
he wants
you
to make
said
sure you're scary, I guess.
there's like you said there's about 37 things in your presentation. We've only talked about maybe a handful.
A
of them.
handful. Yeah.
So what else you got?
Let's go into the spirit of winter a little bit.
Okay.
And obviously this is going to lead us into like some more cryptid type things, like the Yeti, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some people who would say the Yeti is not a Christmas cryptid, but I'm here to say you're wrong.
There he is with the Santa
Here
hat.
he is. I actually picked this up at Five Below. Again, I don't think it gets much
Mhm.
more mainstream than
Yeah.
the Abominable Snowman, which is another name for Yeti, in a Christmas hat at Five Below.
Well, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer has the abominable snow monster of the north.
Yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Bumble.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. So, one of the most fascinating things about this particular cryptid, which is Tibetan in history, right? Himalayas, is that they thought for a long time that they had a hair from one. And it was in a Buddhist temple for a very long time. I want to say probably over a decade. And then finally, DNA testing comes along.
Boo.
And we find out it was not a Yeti. It was from a mountain goat all along.
There's the goats again.
Yes, the goats are definitely a theme tonight. I don't actually
Goats
know why.
everywhere.
Yeah. But the Yeti has definitely made its way into our holiday lore. I've seen it on holiday cards. I've seen it in all kinds of, in Rudolph. And then there's a new one out there called Abominable that is a little girl who befriends a Yeti that is somehow captured and taken to a lab, and she lets it out and she takes it back to the mountains. She takes it back to the Himalayas.
I've seen that, but I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's adorable, actually. It's a great children's movie.
Yeah, I'll have
And
to
it would
watch
be
that.
fun to watch around the holidays because it's kind of like it would definitely appeal to your listeners that are into the whole scene with PETA, because they're taking this cryptid out of a lab
Mhm.
and setting it free back into the wild. So it is an adorable, adorable show. But this is another one of those, sort of the spirit of the cold, sort of the spirit of winter. Does it get more winter than a Yeti? A giant bipedal creature that lives in the snow, only above the snow line. So like even when you read the old Tibetan lore, they have 3 kinds of Yetis in their lore. And they get bigger and more fierce the higher you get into the mountains. So it's kind of like you have to have a certain amount of cold and you have to have a certain amount of snow to have a habitat for a Yeti, which definitely kind of rocks the whole theme of the Yeti living in the city in a science lab because they have to keep it so cold.
Yeah.
But that said, I feel like the Yeti as a cryptid, as a representative of the freezing cold and the snow, is kind of the perfect representative. It really speaks to what a holiday monster can be.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we have all these stories like Jack Frost and the Wendigo, and all of these are stories about cold. They are absolutely, positively stories about surviving the winter. Let's go to the Wendigo next. So the Wendigo is a First Nations story, and it was across a lot of North America. The Wendigo is hunger, and it is terrifying because anyone can go Wendigo. Anyone can give into the greed of eating another person.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hungry enough and it's winter and there's no food and you haven't properly prepared for winter, you might starve to death.
Yeah.
And you might be tempted to eat your family members.
Part of our American history.
It is indeed part of our American history.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about the Donner Party, what's really sad is a lot of them had scurvy and they were in a pine forest. And one of the other hats I wear is herbalist. There's more vitamin C in pine, which was all around them.
Yep.
They didn't know.
I had no idea.
And it could have saved their lives.
Could have made some
Another
pine
interesting
tea.
thing about the Donner Party is that the first time that it happens is actually on Christmas Day.
Oh my God. Frosty,
That's a scary
added
Christmas
new
fact,
layer.
too.
A whole new layer of gross.
Yeah.
to Christmas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something. But yes, but yeah, Wendigo is a creature from the pantheon of natives, and we see it a lot in movies and like what was the show? Supernatural, portrayed with antlers. My understanding from the native lore is that it was not portrayed that way to the natives. That it was a more tall, thin, very gaunt, human-type figure with a heart made of ice. I have interviewed people who believe they have seen a Wendigo in the northern area, that they've actually still experienced this creature, that it is still out there. And I'm not here to say they did or didn't. I don't know what they saw. I believe that they saw something that was terrifying.
Yeah.
But was it human? Was it paranormal? I don't know. I wasn't there. And I'm not here to judge. But the idea that a Wendigo could really be a real thing, just kind of like one of those cryptid stories that just stays with us and stays with us, is fascinating. And like I said, really, it is the spirit of winter. It is the spirit of a frozen heart. And I feel free to jump in here, because you're saying, Frosty, in a way that I feel like you know something about a Wendigo you want to share.
Oh, no. It's just, it's just one of those things where, I mean, we talked about it earlier, but like winter, I mean, winter is tough now. So, I mean, imagine, winter was the trial, like every year is like the trial of survival to make it to spring,
Absolutely.
And so lots of things could go wrong. And really not that long ago. Like, obviously we can talk about like the pagan past of Europe and all that, but I mean, really just 100 years ago, winter could go really badly. The Donner Party, for example.
Right.
So, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, that's why we have these stories, because it's kind of like this thing of like, if you don't take care of these things you need to take care of, you might not make it to spring.
It's well, and winter can still be deadly for people.
For sure.
Power goes out and you freezing to death is still a real thing. I knew a woman who fell in a parking lot between two cars and thought she was going to freeze to death. And this was just a few years ago.
Yeah.
She was in a grocery store parking lot, fell on the ice, broke a bone, and like yelled for help. And finally an employee found her hours later. Like she literally thought she was going to die there. So scary. Winter is still terrifying.
Plus, winter is the most times. That's when the most house fires happen.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yep.
That's correct.
People trying to stay warm and it goes wrong.
There's like statistic data. Let me see. I thought I had it right here on how many people die putting up Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Like that's still a thing.
Like falling off ladders, like the whole Christmas Vacation movie, but that's like every year.
But for real,
a whole bunch of people die.
I've got that data. The Consumer Product Safety Commission estimates that around 14,700 people end up hospitalized each November, December from holiday decor related accidents.
My goodness,
that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. Yeah,
you don't have to please the Yule goat that much. Just make it adequate. As long as
make it adequate. As long as you just scrape by, you're good to go.
We don't need to go to the hospital over this.
The Christmas trees. You're putting the Christmas tree gets dry. That's like a big one. And they used to put like lit candles on the Christmas tree. So like,
or if you have your own personal Yule cat that climbs into your Christmas tree.
Very true.
Which pretty much is just about any cat. Yeah. I was going to say that I was familiar with the Wendigo, but I didn't think about it in that way, that it was this winter related cryptid.
Yeah.
The old tellings of it are now on like Supernatural, not so much. But and I think Wendigo even appeared on My Little Pony one time, which is really interesting. But like I said,
My Little Pony.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm not here to judge. Like children need to learn about villains too, I suppose.
But and then when you're talking about the heart made of ice, it made me think of the Grinch.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Dr. Seuss pulling from the Wendigo to make the Grinch. That's a thought.
Somebody just pointed out two different spellings of Wendigo. I believe that in the different native translation, there are several dozen spellings of Wendigo. And when I looked up a First Nations website, they listed like over 20, 25 something.
Plus, we
different
weren't
spellings of
concerned
Wendigo.
about how to spell anything until about the late 1800s.
That's true.
When they started
Yeah,
making
early
dictionaries.
1800s,
Yeah.
the Merriam-Webster dictionary comes
Nobody
out. Which,
gave two
it's really
shits
interesting.
about how to spell anything.
Yeah, I talk about that quite a bit because if you go back and you read letters, like from like being like a historian, I focus like on the
Mhm.
early Republic and Revolutionary America. None of the founding fathers could spell. I was like, how come none of the founding fathers can spell? Like, that's all crazy. Like, they're spelling stuff all crazy. And like Abigail Adams is spelling stuff all crazy. And I'm
Mhm.
like, these are educated people. Like, they speak Greek, they speak Latin. You know, like they're like more educated than I am. Like, why are they spelling stuff all wrong? And then I found out that there was like no real way to spell anything. You just spelled it the way you wanted to. So,
Or that was just kind of phonetic.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it's just like there really was no set pattern
Yeah.
until the dictionaries start coming
Yeah.
out really in the 1800s. Yeah.
Oxford
So that's
Dictionary.
interesting.
It
So school's
is.
a little bit easier for them.
I still can't spell anything. So it's
You
all
would have
right.
been okay. You would have been okay, Jenny.
Yeah, I've been great. Like, it's all right if I didn't know how to spell anything. Nobody else did either.
Yeah, I guess as long as you could kind of figure it out, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you could communicate effectively, it was good enough. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
interesting.
You know, I think that one of the other interesting themes around the holidays is the idea of cannibalism. And there are monsters like the Whipping Father from France that eat children. I mean, I realize Krampus does too, but he kind of classifies as a demon. The Whipping Father, the Pierre Fouettard, actually is a human figure who traveled with St. Nicholas. And again, a Krampus cut and paste, but vicious enough that he would literally cannibalize and eat the bad kids.
There is a lot of stories about
Yes, there's a lot of
about
cannibalism
things
and
eating children. Yeah.
the Hans Trapp scarecrow, also from the Alpine region around France, also eats children. He's a spooky. If you ever see an illustration of what Hans Trapp the scarecrow looks like, one of the more terrifying visions, I would say, at least to me, a scarecrow that like sort of comes alive and eats children.
Yeah.
But
not
there's
your
a lot
Wizard
of
of Oz scarecrow.
No, this is not a friendly scarecrow. He's not here to help you get on the Yellow Brick Road. He is here to eat you.
Oh my goodness.
And the story of the Hans Trapp scarecrow is that he was a knight, and again, not unlike the Wendigo story, he was full of greed. His heart was full of greed, but now he was greedy for money, not for eating people, but the fact that this particular knight wanted all the money and wanted all the land, and he was already rich. Apparently, he was so greedy that he was excommunicated from the church in his life. Now, some stories he becomes a black knight and kills and eats people. And in the more popular telling of the story, this guy becomes Hans Trapp, the scarecrow, and shows up around this time of year when it's very cold and dark. And he doesn't just wait for bad kids. He eats any kids at all. He just kind of will go after children and eat them.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a spooky cannibal story. The Pierre Fouettard, there's actually, I have to share this because I found it so amusing. In Paris, there is a restaurant called that. And it is still in operation. I don't think they serve people. But it is a fascinating idea to name your restaurant after a creature that kills and eats children.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure. I've never eaten there.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about it, but it is very amusing.
I kind of like the parallel between the Scarecrow character and St. Nicholas, where St. Nicholas is a rich person who is generous, and he's the rich person who isn't.
Right.
And thinking about like the way that you've been explaining things about a winter, I can see that kind of being a story about sharing with your neighbors, sharing with your community. Like if you have something and your neighbor doesn't, then make sure that they're taken care of too.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There would have been that communal. There would have been that communal kind of aspect to it of like, some people are going to be more successful than others, but like as a
Mhm.
community, it's important that everybody kind of get through that winter together.
Yeah.
Because
No,
maybe next year your
absolutely.
neighbors have a better harvest than you
Mr.
do.
Jones has 20
You know?
sausages left, and we have
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess those Christmas goblins have really been hanging out around
Yeah.
our house. That's rough. That's
So,
rough. Yeah.
We're going to ask Mr. Jones for a couple sausages.
So there you go. We've
Exactly.
had all these horrible things we talked about, but there's a good moral to take away from it of like community
Yeah.
and helping each other out, and
Yeah.
like that's part of winter too. Is like
It is part
being
of
able
winter
to get
too.
through it. I think we kind of are that way now. Even I mean, let's compare that to our modern Christmas. And isn't that a lot of what we talk about when it comes to the Christmas season, the Yuletide and
It is. It is about
goodwill
sharing,
to
about-
others,
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
a time of giving, time
Giving,
of
yep.
charity, peace on earth, goodwill towards
That's
to men.
definitely,
kind of,
at least in America, when the
Yeah.
most people donate money
Right.
and donate their time.
Food.
And,
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm.
And I mean, we even have Giving Tuesday now as part of our regular lineup, like right after
Mhm.
Cyber Monday and Black Friday and Small Business Saturday.
Yeah.
We have a day that's set aside specifically to remember charitable causes.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and I think that, it's kind of like I said earlier, a lot of these stories are cautionary tales,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
if you're selfish, if you are a jerk.
If you don't
Any
have enough
number-
sausages and your house is dirty and your kids are jerks.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're not able to work together,
Yeah.
you have to, historically, you would have had to work together with your family and your community to get through the winter every year.
Absolutely.
The idea of Krampus or Frau Perchta showing up is probably enough to scare a lot of people into working.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I'm trying to remember some of the other one. Like these are the heavy hitters. I gave you all the big
So
ones.
I have one that necessarily isn't a monster, but I'm curious because it's also been becoming more popular, and actually Kelleth brought it up earlier.
Uh-huh.
But the gnomes, the
the Nissi.
the Tomty, and
Yeah, did you say it,
so-
Nissi? I've
Yeah.
never met anyone who that was their part of their story. So
well, and I think the way it is, and I'm not sure, but the Nissi is the Norwegian, what the
Yes.
Norwegians call it, and the Tomty is the Swedish kind of name for it.
I think
if
that
I'm
is
not
correct.
mistaken.
Yeah,
There's
Okay.
a really cute show on Netflix called Hilda, and it has those characters in it. And I
That's
have no
fun.
idea if it's like accurate, but they're adorable in the show. They're little gnomes that live in the house, and
Yeah.
look
they're
at that little guy.
they're part of your household. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. I do have stories about them. I have them being helpers around the farm and caretakers of animals. Again, like Frau Perchta, they prefer allegedly porridge as a thank you. Although I have read in some places that they really like butter.
Yes,
Who doesn't?
butter.
Yes, butter. Which takes me right back to Black Phillip, the goat again, who was promising people butter to become a witch. I don't know what it is with the goats. But
Yeah, dost
I had
thou
to
like
throw
the
that
taste
in.
of butter? Oh, that
Yes,
movie's
the
so
taste of
good, by the
butter.
way. Well, since we're bringing it up, I love The Witch. I think it's a great movie. The historian in me loves the historical kind of, at least atmosphere,
Yeah.
and like the buildings and stuff were done like to,
That
we're very
actually
historical.
displayed perfectly that movie, The Witch, how hard it was to get
Yes.
through winter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it was done so well. Being a history person myself, but I guess we have to bring it up. Are you aware of his next movie that's coming out? The
Black
director?
Phillip?
No,
Oh, I thought you meant the goat.
the director.
Sorry, I'm
Black
still with the
Phillip's
goat.
getting his own movie.
That
I
would
was
be
like,
cool.
I thought that goat died. I didn't know he had another movie.
So
It's gonna
that
be Black
director,
Phillip and the Yule Cat.
Yeah,
They're
that
gonna team
director
I'm
up.
here for
did-
that. I'm here.
did The Witch.
I'm
did
ready
the-
to see Black Phillip as Yule Goat.
He did The Lighthouse and he did The
Yes.
Norseman. But his new movie that's coming out on Christmas,
That's
Mhm.
what
so
I'm
there's a
too.
connection here, is
Yes.
a retelling of Nosferatu.
I have to share that a few years ago, I took my mom to see the original, but accompanied by an orchestra.
Ooh.
And she had never seen it. And She laughed out loud when the vampire carried his coffin across the lawn. And she was like, that's not discreet at all. And she just like cracked up laughing because here goes this vampire carrying his own huge coffin right across somebody's front lawn. So hopefully they replay that in the new one. I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
And maybe
I
Matt
have high
Dillon will
hopes
be in
for
it.
it.
I hope. I mean, I can hope to have a goat in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it was like, once again, it was one of those things we brought up. I was telling Jenny, I was like, isn't it interesting that they're coming out with like a pretty big horror movie on Christmas? It's coming out on Christmas Day. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's kind of like this thing, I think, is building up steam a little bit. And it's funny because I'll tell people this all the time. We started telling scary stories during the Yule season, the Christmas season, December, the winter solstice. And they're like, really? And it's like, yeah, obvious. It's kind of obvious. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, have you ever seen A Christmas Carol?
That is the most popular ghost story in the English language.
Yep.
And it is a Christmas ghost story. And there are 4 ghosts. People always try to tell me there are 3, but there are 4.
Nope, can't forget Jacob Marley.
Exactly.
Yeah,
people always forget about poor Marley. He just like slips off the radar. And he's carrying all those chains. Come on.
Yeah. He's kind of, to me, he's the scariest ghost out of all of us.
agree.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe Christmas Future, possibly, but yeah.
It depends on how it's played, but yeah. So no, I love that particular ghost story, and you're absolutely right. This is the time of year when people told ghost stories, because this is the time of year when the Dumb Supper would traditionally be set, and we switched a lot of that back to Halloween in our modern culture. Halloween does have some roots in that too, especially cultures that like Day of the Dead, for example. That in that culture, that is the time. But then like you have like the Hungry Ghost Festival happens in July in Asian culture. But in the old European cultures, the thin time was the winter solstice.
Plus, it's nights for so long during the winter.
Especially the further north you got.
You have to be inside around the fire and,
you don't have as much work to do.
Story time.
What else are you going to do? Yeah.
No, there was nothing else to do. Well, unless you had to clean the house or spin the wool.
And put on your best duds. Yeah.
You got to dress up for Yule Cat. You got to make sausages to keep the vampires out.
Put the colanders out. Yeah. There's a lot of things to do.
I imagine it was a very busy time.
So I just want to say we're getting close to the end here. If you have any questions or any comments that you would like to give to Rissa, let us know in there.
There was a question at the beginning, which we didn't get to, but we'll ask now.
Chat has been popping tonight, so thank you guys for all of your contributions into chat. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep up, but I don't know that I did a perfect job.
Kaylin wanted to know how long you've been researching and studying and learning about all of this.
A long time, a number of years. Let me think. Since 2018 is when I started in earnest keeping records. And there are so many stories I didn't share tonight. Like in New Hampshire, there's a Christmas alien that shows up called the Dairy
How do we leave that one out?
I'm sorry. But then like a lot of these, there's like all these obscure little stories from different regions. There's like the Starman and the Goat that comes out in Poland.
Another goat.
There's the Konkalos in Turkey that are kind of like Bigfoots that stand at the crossroads and challenge you to a riddle. And if you fail, they kill you. But like there's all of these other very niche regional stories that don't fall into like the Krampus category. Like I said, Krampus is the all-star. And Christmas alien. So I'll quickly tell the story of the Dairy Fairy, since there seems to be some interest. The Dairy Fairy was a story told New Hampshire, and the gentleman went out to pick a Christmas tree out of the forest, which is a thing people did, even into the 1960s, 70s, even into the 80s. It was normal to go out and cut your own Christmas tree. And I think there are still places you can do that, but they're more like a commercial enterprise, and you don't necessarily go into the forest, probably because it's all private property now or state land. So Before, though, you could do that. And this guy did. And he was cutting down his Christmas tree and he looked up and saw a gray alien. Now, this gray alien was reported to only be about 3 feet tall. And he decided that it was such a fantastical experience that he was going to tackle it to the ground and take it back to meet his wife. So allegedly, this man jumps on the alien and the alien screams so loud that it's like painful, like the sound is piercing to his ears and it sort of stuns him. And I guess the two of them regard each other for a moment and then the alien dashes away. He goes home and he tries to tell his wife and children, like, I just saw this alien. I forgot the Christmas tree. Come back and see. And you can see there was a scuffle in the snow, but there are no footprints leading away from where the alien was. So probably a goat. Obviously, it was a goat. It was the Yule goat coming to judge the Christmas tree.
Goats can be pretty loud.
Yeah.
That's a cool story. Yeah, I had never heard of that.
Yeah,
one
I never heard of
before.
that either.
Yeah,
That's an interesting one.
It is. I actually ran across it in a book about regular cryptids, and as somebody pointed out, I've been collecting these stories a very long time, and I have a big thick file, just like I collect witchcraft stories and all kinds of other niche history. I have a file of Christmas specific creatures. And this one was definitely a keeper. It had to be in the lineup because an alien for Christmas, an alien who's tackled for Christmas, no less.
There we go.
This one also needs to be a movie. Somebody get on.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Maybe this could be a part of the Yule Cat movie.
Yeah.
Also the news story we had today, I was a little curious about that one because it's it kind of seems like it could have been like a Yeti. This Appalachia, the white thing.
Oh, the sheep squatch. Sheep
Yeah.
squatch is definitely its own category of cryptid. They have been spotted in numerous states, and allegedly they also like bridges too. Like, you know, the liminal space of a bridge. That whole idea. A lot of sheep squatch stories specifically happen around bridges and other liminal spaces.
Makes me
That's
think of
really
the Three
interesting 'cause,
Billy Goats Gruff with the troll under the bridge.
Because Goatman and Sheep Squatch are different cryptids. Let's be clear.
Okay. I had never heard of the sheep squatch before, and like we're not that, we're just a couple hours away from West Virginia. Like it's not that.
Yeah, but Pennsylvania has them too, apparently.
Okay.
And there's some Western and Midwestern states where sheep squatch has been spotted. So I think there's either one that gets around or there are several.
Yeah.
Weird.
Wow, interesting. All right.
So which one's your favorite?
Me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mari Lute, of course. I love a rhyming horse. Yeah, absolutely.
I was thinking that was your favorite.
I love her. And ever since, especially, I saw someone do it.
Yeah.
I was just absolutely dazzled. It was incredible.
That would be really cool.
Yule Goat is up there. I definitely like Yule Goat. I like Yule Cat. They're great and they're so strange.
Yeah.
I love the idea of getting judged by a goat or a cat. And I think that's real. That's real life.
Yeah. Frosty, which one was your favorite? Oh, we're asking each other.
Yeah.
Mary Lou is pretty awesome. And I kind of like that there's more positivity with her,
Yeah, it's definitely spooky, but uplifting.
Yeah. And I don't know. But as far as the scary ones go, I kind of like the ogress one.
Gryla.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's terrifying.
Yeah.
I think if I had to go with scariest, in my opinion, I'm probably going to go with Frau Perchta. Someone who's going to gut me with a knife for not having a clean house is pretty scary.
Yeah. I like the imagery.
So many of us probably would not meet the adequate on that.
No.
At some given time.
I like the imagery of the ogress. Yeah.
I would say, well, me, I'm a lover of Scandinavian cats, so the Yule Cat would be great. I think though, as an educator, I've developed a fondness for Krampus. So,
Fair.
the penance of bad behavior for children is something
Now
I can
you
get
know a
behind.
whole bunch more of them that you can add in. You should do that as part of your Christmas lecture for your
There we go.
kids. Be like, hey, this is why you need to.
Who I throw all the Christmas cryptids and stuff in there. Yeah, it's a good story. It's kind of the bounce. There's so many good ones. It's really interesting, and it's curious. It'll be something to keep an eye on as we go along over the next years, because these things are starting to enter kind of the American sphere, and
They
so it'll be
are.
interesting to see what, like, kind of how this continues to evolve, and like what kind of stories are told, because everything always changes. So,
Well, even at like where I picked up my Christmas Yeti at Five Below, they had Ginger Dead pajamas. And
okay.
the Ginger Dead cookies, like the skeleton on a gingerbread man.
Mhm.
And they actually have appeared in a few movies too, Ginger Dead. But I was like, wow, like this is very mainstream. The fact that Krampus is now in Walmart and the Ginger Deads are in Five Below, it's definitely becoming a more well-known, the dark aspect of the Yuletide kind of thing is getting out there.
I'm definitely would be down for some Mary Lou, though. I think some wassailing. I am 100% willing to get on
Yeah.
board. So if anybody wants to come by the abode to wassail, I'll be more than happy to rhyme and join the party.
It also made
as
me
we go through.
think of all kinds of fun Christmas punches we can make for our Christmas party.
Oh yeah, yeah. There we go.
And I was gonna say I've been painting Christmas ornaments, but like weird Christmas ornaments.
Oh,
Like
that's awesome.
we're working on Santa abducting an alien right now.
Yeah.
So this just gave me a whole bunch more things to add to my wheel.
That you can add to that.
I'm here to help your creative process. Yeah.
All the Christmas cryptids need to go in the wheel. People, don't let me forget on Monday.
All right. Well, we're going to do our finish here for all the people who are listening at another time, at another place on the podcast or over on YouTube. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you for joining us tonight, Rissa. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And
It was
thanks
great to
to-
come back. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, it was awesome to have you back on. And thanks to Alyson for the moon update, even though
Yes.
it was a little bit,
Well,
being stuck in the mud.
we had some Artex thing going on there towards the end. But if you missed that, if you came in late, I will have that up on the YouTube channel. We've been publishing just the moon update, so you can make sure to go in there and get that, so you know what's going on with the moon phases. I hope all of you are having a wonderful kind of beginning to the holiday season, and make sure that all of your decorations are at least adequate. Until next time, we'll see you next time. And for everyone who's still hanging out with us here tonight, let's go see you on the old Twitch machine. See, we have hanging out tonight. We'll go send this raid somewhere.
I got somebody.
You got somebody?
Since
Okay.
We're doing creepy but cute. Sheepy's playing Little Nightmares too.
Okay. That sounds perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do this real quick. Thanks, everybody. The Real Mr. Weird cheered 100 bits. Thank you, The Real Mr. Weird. I don't know if you're still around. I saw you were lurking. Thanks for coming and hanging out this night. We appreciate it. Shadow Max gifted a 1 month sub to Kaylin. Thank you so much, Shadow Max. Also gifted a sub to Journey of Self-Discovery. Thank you so much for the gifted subs. Shadow Max also gifted a sub to the Purple Throne. So thank you so much. It was nice to see the Purple Throne. I know Purple Throne's gone. Thank you so much for the subs. Journey of Self-Discovery reached a 3 stream streak. So thank you so much, Journey. And Keisha reached a 45 stream streak. So thank you, Keisha, for 45 streams in a row. We appreciate you so much. And also, Keisha resubbed for 10 months. So appreciate you, Keisha. Hope all of you guys are having
and we had a new friend over on YouTube today. So
yeah, we did have a new friend over on YouTube. Yeah. So thank you, everyone who came by and hung out. It's so fun to be able to have these Thursday nights hanging out with you guys and talking about all the weird stuff. So we're going to go over, we're going to raid Black Sheep Meat. Feel free to bring your weird energy over there because she appreciates it.
Little Nightmares is also about cannibalism. So
And-
it's all
yeah.
perfect. It goes all around in a circle.
and she may or may not be coming on the show soon as well.
You
So
said you
we're
were going to keep things secret.
I am keeping it. I said maybe. You know, I'm not gonna give it away. You guys take care. Are you back on tonight, Jenny? Are you on tomorrow night, Jenny?
Yes.
All right. So we'll see you tomorrow night over on Medium Jenny Lee's stream. Take care, everybody, and we will see you all next time. Good night.
Bye.